Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Pokemon Elite Championship Series. All right, Jeremy. 4 matches down. The top 8 is done. We're down to the top 4. We know the Sabelhaus brothers are playing against each other. What's our other match going to be?
All right, it's Dylan Bryan, perennial, all-time great, always consistent, top of the standings.
That's right.
Against Brandon Cantu, who is Dylan Bryan, but not as known.
Wait, what?
Brandon Cantu is very consistent. He always places near the top, but he doesn't play these like crazy whacked out decks, kind of like Dylan does.
So he's like Dylan Bryan, but not Dylan Bryan.
Yeah,
But not anything like Dylan Bryan.
not anything like him, but like him. He's a very consistent player. He is
Okay.
day 2 invite for both of these players are day 2 invite for Worlds.
That's right.
And
Matter of fact, they're both in like the top. They're in the top 8 of in North American rankings, right?
yeah, Brandon is 7th and Dylan is 3rd.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right behind Jason and Chase.
Oof. Yeah.
All right, so can we take a look at their decks actually really quick, so we can actually show the viewers what the matchup's going to be like?
All right. So Brandon, we're going to be looking from his point of view, and his deck is Evolutions, Raichu, Crobat.
Okay. So yeah,
No Crobat on the list, but there's Crobat in the deck. Trust me.
well, let's hope so. So we do have Evolutions with Raichu. All right, so somebody somewhere in our tech department screwed up and didn't provide us with the proper list. But if Jeremy says there's a Crobats, and there's Crobats. We have Shaman EX, the Evolution line, which has 3 Leafeons and 3 Flareons, a couple of Raichus teched in there, because you can never have enough damage, and finally that lone Jirachi EX. Let's assume there's some Crobats in there somewhere.
He also plays a Mr. Mime and 4 Zubat, 3 Golbat, and 3 Crobat.
All right, whoever wrote down these deck lists needs to get fired. That's really what it comes down to.
That was Josue.
All right, so now that the cat's out of the bag, let's actually take a look at the trainers as well. It seems like it's a pretty standard trainer line. There's one thing to note is that there's only three stadiums. There's only 3 stadiums in the list. But beyond that, nothing really to mention besides the single teammates. That seems a little interesting.
The single teammates and that there's only 2 Skyfield, because most think like Raichu, Crobat, you play like 3 or 4 Skyfield and you want to fill your bench right away. But this is more of a Flareon deck with like Raichu and Crobat thrown in it as the extra Pokemon.
Okay, good to note. So now that we know Brandon's list, let's take a look at Dylan's and see what the matchup's actually going to be.
All right, so it's going to be Groudon, and I'm a big fan of Groudon personally.
Why's that?
I love Wobbuffet as a card. I think in the format where everyone's playing Shamans and Jirachi and stuff like that, Wobbuffet is so good at shutting down your opponent. He also plays the 1 Bunnelby, which he doesn't want to lose the Wailord.
That's right.
And
Take that Bunnelby in there.
It helps get back a lot of his resources, because Groudon is a deck that kind of goes through its resources really fast. You only play 4 stadiums in this list, and for Groudon to do well, it needs to discard a stadium so it could do it base 200 damage with its attack.
That's right. That's a good point.
He also plays the 1 Landorus, which is huge in this matchup because Eevee and Pikachu get 1 hit by a Landorus Hammerhead.
You know what else is huge in this matchup? Goomy.
Oh man. So Dylan's original list that he sent me had a second professor's letter, but he's like, hold on, wait, sent you the wrong list. And then he sends me this list with the Goomy
Always
instead.
the troll.
So you might be thinking maybe he forgot the Goodra because he played Dragonite in this list before, and Goodra could like heal or shut off tools or something like that. No. Goomy's is one of his favorite Pokemon, and I think he just wanted to play it to
Psych his
troll
opponents
people.
out, man.
Yeah.
You psych your opponents out in the Pokemon League Championship Series. That's what you do.
That works for the first like top 8, but once it gets to top 4 and finals, your opponent has your deck list.
That's
so they'll
true.
be able to see like, Goomy, what?
You just psych your opponent out in a different manner. You start
Right.
you start making them wonder if you're sane or if you're even trying. So besides that, we do see the trainer lineup for this Groudon EX list, and it's pretty standard actually. Once again, you have things like Robo Substitute, 4 stadiums, like you mentioned, including a Shrine of Memories. You have couple of different switching, well, 3 different switching methods with the Floatstone switch and Escape Rope. You have a Super Potion in there. That's something that you don't necessarily see every day on this list. And only a couple of Mega Turbos. That's actually kind of interesting there.
So there's different routes you could take for the Groudon. Like I've seen some like maxi Groudon lists with like 4 Mega Turbos, Battle Compressors, and stuff like that. You've seen actually Dylan Bryan's Groudon Dragonite list where it plays like 4 Wobbuffet and 3/3/3 Dragonite or something like that. And where you just sack Pokemon until you get a Groudon set up and then you heal Groudon over and over. This, it's basically the Robo Substitute Groudon where you bring up the Robo Sub so your opponent can't really get prizes. Charge up your guy, you still have the Wobbuffet for the shutting off the abilities. But you have 2 Hard Charms and the Pokemon Center Lady. And with the Super Potion, it actually makes a really good combo with Mega Turbo.
That's true.
Because you can Super Potion, Mega Turbo the energy right back on.
So this is actually a more conservative Groudon list than we're used to seeing. A lot of the other Groudon lists, they tend to cycle their energy cards to draw extra cards. They play a couple of Mega Turbos.
Scorched Earth in this list. He plays 3 Silent Lab and 1 Shrine of Memories.
Correct. So without Scorched Earth, without a real discard pile theme in his deck, he decides to actually just play a more conservative list. He just wants to manually attach these energies to his Groudon and slowly but surely bring out this tanky Pokemon that just overwhelms your opponent's side of the field when it actually does come down. And for that, he plays 11 energies, which include 4 strong energy.
One thing you also should notice is that he doesn't play Groudon Spirit Link at all. With Groudon, it's a really slow, tanky deck. Kind of like Kyogre in a sense, but Kyogre can actually attack turn 3. Groudon, you really don't attack until like turn 7 if you have like a bad start, but you still win those games.
Yeah.
With this deck, since you don't play the Spirit Link, you have to end your turn when you evolve, but usually that doesn't really matter. And Hard Charm, Focus Sash, and even Floatstone are so much better.
All right, man. We've made people wait long enough. Let's actually take a look at the match and see how these 2 players square off. These 2 Day 2 competitors for the World Championships. How are they going to square off, or how are they going to do? Who's going to actually come out on top and face one of the Sabelhaus brothers in the finals? All right, so looks like we're setting up the match here. And once again, guys, it's going to be Primal Groudon against the Leafeon, Flareon, Raichu conglomeration that we have coming out of Brandon. And, okay, there we go. It now begins. We see Eevee against Wobbuffet. A couple of unusual starting Pokemon, to say the least.
Yeah, well, when you see Wobbuffet, I think you almost always have to go to Groudon. And granted, they have each other's lists, so they know what they're up against. But in like a dead heat, like Eevee, alright, Flareon, or just like something with Leafeon tucked in, and Wobbuffet, like Groudon, maybe like a Wobbuffet Crobat deck. I played that at Cities, it was pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. So now we actually saw Brandon go first this game, and Brandon's choosing between any of his starting Pokemon. He decides to go for a second Eevee. I believe that he just assumes that Eevee is going to be, or Leafeon is going to be his route to victory here, and he just wants to make sure that he gets them as early as possible. He does draw a third Eevee and passes his turn at the end of his after a Juniper. Not an awful turn 1, to say the least.
Yeah, it could have been a lot better. He could, like, that Wobbuffet was doing so much, because he could have Energy Evolution that Eevee to get a Leafeon, but Wobbuffet shut it down. He could have Ultra Balled for a Shaman to draw extra cards. Wobbuffet shut it down. And he really does prioritize those Eevees because Groudon is weak to grass, and it takes 4 energy to attack. Leafeon is insanely good against it. But the thing is, with this matchup, Eevee is also so fragile because of that fighting weakness. And as you see now, Dylan gets Landorus with Karina. So Karina is such a powerful card in fighting decks because you get your Pokemon, so you can get Landorus, get a switch card, and then you have energy in hand, you already got a knockout.
Yeah, so assuming that that Dylan had an energy in hand here, that first turn Eevee is actually going to get knocked out, and it's going to put a lot of pressure on Brandon here. That's assuming that he has a fighting energy, which, as much as you'd like to assume, it doesn't necessarily happen all the time.
The thing is, too, he could have the switch card in hand, get Professor's Letter, get energy that way.
That's true.
But he did get a Floatstone, so I'm almost positive he has the fighting energy in hand.
Correct. So now he doesn't play the float zone onto his Wobbuffet, just needs an energy, does attach it. So now
That's
that's
a strong energy too.
just for the overkill.
Yeah.
He needs to deal 100 damage to this poor Eevee. And now Hammerhead is going to also deal 30 damage to the bench Eevee that has energy on it.
So you could go the route where you'll deal damage to the one without energy because he's not going to evolve that one most likely. Or you can do it to the one that does have energy like he does.
Yeah.
Because if you get another strong energy next turn, he'll be doing 70 with the 30 on it already. It's a knockout.
Yeah. Yeah, the safe play, in my opinion, is just putting it on the Pokemon that you know is going to be attacking you at some point. And that's what he chose to do. Now, he is probably going to evolve a second Leafeon as well.
Well, what we see is, since Wobbuffet isn't active anymore, he's actually able to attach the grass and energy evolution that Leafeon out.
That's a good point. That's actually a great play there. And he's still finding more Eevees with his Ultra Ball. Well, actually, this time he chooses a Pikachu as for his new route to victory. But the thing is, Leafeon just doesn't deal enough damage here in this situation.
Yeah, he did get a Silver Wrangle, so he's going to deal 50, but 50 is not what you want to do in this situation at all.
Exactly. I mean, 50 is... You're capping at 50 with a Silver Bangle that deals an additional 30. I mean, that's just not good. It's not good at all. And when your opponent's Landorus EX has more HP than you care to even, count, then Leafeon is just not going to be pulling its own weight here, and he needs to get some sort of additional attacking source, which is why I like seeing that double Pikachu on the bench.
The thing is, though, he does have 2 Leafeons charged up right now, and one of them has, I think, another Bangle or a Muscle Band. But for Dylan to actually play the game, he's going to need to start building up a Groudon or attaching more to the Landorus and kind of healing it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The Pikachu's put enough pressure on your opponent that he can't rely on the Landorus for the entirety of the game.
Well, no, I'm saying even the Leafeon puts pressure on.
Sure, that's entirely true. So,
and the Leafeon gets better as the game goes on.
Exactly. So now the Groudon EX is finally searched out with a second Karina of the game. And I would hope that we start seeing an energy turn here out of Dylan. Otherwise, as this lowly 50 damage a turn is actually going to be more than enough as the game progresses.
For sure. But Dylan does have the Super Potion and the Pokemon Center Lady, so he can tank with his Landorus a little bit. But it's still facing down a pretty good start from Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, as far as good starts are concerned, obviously a turn 1 Hammerhead seems to be a little bit better when you knock out one of your opponent's prime attacking Pokemon. But Brandon had a nice little comeback. He retaliated just fine, and he did what he needed to do to keep himself in this game. So this does seem like it's actually going to end up being a great game as far as the first opening turns are concerned, as long as Dylan starts powering up a Groudon here. And that's exactly what we see. We see a Groudon with a fighting energy attached right away. And now a Hammerhead from Dylan is going to end his turn here. We see him actually stay consistent, too, and attack deal the extra 30 damage to the benched Leafeon.
Well, Leafeon is what's going to kill the Groudon. And we do see Brandon Lysander up the Groudon and deal a bunch of damage to it. I think 140, because there's 2 energy in play with the Bangle. It's 70 times 2 for weakness.
Correct.
And so Dylan attacking the Leafeons, he's not going to be able to quite knock him out in the same turn. But he deals 50 to the active, another 30 to the bench, so it's 60 on the bench. So he could deal another 50, knock it out, and then leave the other one with 10. It's not ideal, but...
So here's another thing, by the way. At what point do you stop benching Groudons all nilly-willy here, willy-nilly? At what point do you just do, all right, well, obviously my Groudons are just going to get Lysandered out and knocked out. I'm just Kareening every turn. It doesn't seem very strong here. And it actually seems like Dylan's fallen pretty far behind thanks to his Lysander play.
So the most Dylan can bench is 2 Groudons because he has that Landorus out, and that's all 6 prizes. And he still has the Wobbuffet, which would make it 7 prizes, and Robo-Subs to make him stall a little bit more.
Correct.
The number of Lysanders are definitely going to be a tough thing for Dylan to overcome. But he does Karina. He's going to be able to get Switch or Escape Rope. Preferably Switch because he wants to knock out that Leafeon that's active. And He's going to be able to bench another Groudon, maybe attach to that one, or attach to the same one and heal it. Another route he could do is switch into the Robo Substitute and Mega Evolve. Gives him a turn to Mega Evolve, because you have to remember he does not play the Spirit Link, so he'll end his turn.
He actually chose to find a hard charm instead of a switching card. Remember that we only counted 3 switching effects.
And he used the Float Stone already.
Exactly. But he had a switch in hand. That explains why he decided to do that. So he will continue the Hammerhead onslaught here. However, there's 2 switch cards gone. There's only 1 left, and that's an escape rope.
Yeah. I think he did Center Lady the Landers, maybe? Or Super Potion? Center Lady, most likely. There's only 50 on it. Oh, no, he brought up the Groudon. That's right.
Yeah, he brought out the Groudon. That's what ended up happening.
Oh, that's really big for Dylan, then, because Brandon's not going to be able to really knock out that Landorus unless he gets a really good and...
He needs a Skyfield.
He has the Skyfield. He just needed the Raichu and Pokemon.
Oh, that's right. He does have the Skyfield, which means he needs a Raichu. He needs a...
He didn't get it, though.
Oh, no.
Nuzzling?
Well, I mean, when all else fails, you do have Nuzzle, right? That's what it's there for.
Yeah.
He chose to Nuzzle. The Tails on the Nuzzle, though. Tails does not allow him to paralyze the Landorus. And remember, he only had 1 switch effect left. That actually would have probably been huge had he gotten the heads.
So now the Landorus is going to be able to knock out the Pikachu and the last Leafeon that he had. He still has an Eevee and a Leafeon in hand, but it's going to put Dylan down to 2 prizes.
That's a great point. Dylan going down to 2 prizes is enormous. I mean, this is huge. I'm surprised that he went for an N here instead of going for a full out Juniper, but he wanted to conserve some resources and it backfired.
Yeah. He does only play 2 Raichu, so there's always that to think about. Also, Dylan did get the Lysander, so he's going to knock out the Eevee, which is even worse. That means that Brandon is not going to be able to knock out a Groudon if it gets charged up.
Yeah, that's what 3 Eevees gone or 4.
All 4
Eevees are gone. Yeah, you're right. With 4 Eevees gone, I mean, unless you play something like Sacred Ash, you're just not going to be seeing these Pokemon come back.
Yeah, and he does play Sacred Ash, but it's still really bad for him.
It's awful. Yeah, that's 4 prizes taken, all 4 on Eevee. Those are the ideal 4 prizes to take. You have 2 prizes to go, and you're dealing infinite damage.
Another Nuzzle like that. Brandon's having to result with Nuzzle, and it's tails.
The good news, though, is that he did end his opponent down to a 2-card hand. So if his opponent doesn't draw well, he might be able to get his way or to weasel his way out of this one.
It doesn't matter though, because since he has the Energy Landorus, he can knock out the Pikachu, 30 damage on the bench Pikachu, and then knock out the Pikachu next turn.
You can force your opponent to find a Raichu, I suppose. Or obviously, there's always old reliable Nuzzle, right?
Yeah.
A Primal Groudon gets found by the 4th Karina of the game, it seems.
No, I think it's like the 6th. There's been Versus Seekers played and all that.
It doesn't matter what Karina. I'm not going to count them. It's just a ton of Karinas, and it's just been pretty much the only supporter we've seen all game out of Dylan, and that's all he's needed.
Other than a few key Lysanders.
He decided to actually put the 30 damage on the Golbat instead of the Pikachu, choosing to not rely on his opponent to not find a Raichu here.
But we do see Brandon just retreating to the Pikachu, basically giving up. He just didn't want to click the concede button.
Yeah. So unfortunately for Brandon, he just couldn't defeat the one Landorus EX that came out on Dylan's first turn of the game. It started knocking Pokemon out from the very first turn of the game.
Yeah, Landorus is huge in this matchup.
Yeah, you don't say.
Yeah.
I don't believe you. You have to prove it to me.
We do see that it's just the one Landorus, so if Dylan can play like Protect the Prince with that Landorus, he'll basically have a repeat of Game 1 for Game 2.
Yeah, we saw how irrelevant the Groudon ended up being, as silly as that sounds. Granted, I'm sure that Groudon won't be irrelevant throughout the match. However, in this Game 1, that was the tail of the tape. The Landorus came down early, and that's all I needed. There was just not enough damage out of Brandon here.
And we do see that he actually doesn't play the Sacred Ash, so when those EVs were gone, that's all he had.
Correct. Yeah, I didn't believe he played a Sacred Ash, but I wasn't sure. So now we know that he doesn't play Sacred Ash. We know that once 4 EVs are gone, that's it. No more Leafeon out of your deck here, Brandon. So now let's go back to the game. it's going to be a Zubat against Wobbuffet start. Let's see what happens. Let's see if Brandon can even things up here.
One dynamic that we didn't explain about the Groudon is that it does play 3 Silent Lab. And Silent Lab is a very good card against Zubat and Shaman.
That's right.
A lot of people forget that Zubat's Free Retreat is actually from an ability. So when you shut that off, it might stop them from attacking a turn earlier kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the Silent Lab also shuts off Eevee. But Wobbuffet's doing just a fine job of that.
Exactly. So Wobbuffet just seems to be this huge wall that Dylan can set up here against Brandon.
And we actually just see a draw pass from Dylan because all Brandon did was bench an Eevee pass. So we've seen 3 draw passes already.
Yeah, 3 draw passes, but now it seems like Dylan's tired of doing that. He plays a couple of bench Pokemon down, including a Groudon. And at least we didn't see a huge Hammerhead start out of Dylan this game.
Yeah.
So it does seem like without a Hammerhead start, Dylan's deck seems a little bit more human.
Yeah, for sure. We will see Brandon evolving into Leafeon, Energy, and a Bengal with a training center in play, and he can finally Colress to actually draw cards.
4. 5. There's a Shaman actually, which doesn't draw him additional cards.
But it draws him 1 card
Yeah.
from Colress.
Exactly.
And he actually attached to the Zubat, hoping to hit a Golbat, I believe, to start spreading damage.
Unfortunately for him, he only hits a computer search. So if he wants to evolve to Golbat, he would have to spend his only computer search to do it, and he chose not to because his hand just felt pretty pathetic otherwise.
Yeah. The computer search is going to allow him to basically Juniper next turn. And without, if he gets the Golbat, he's not going to have that, and he's just going to dead draw for a few more turns like he did in the beginning.
That's right. Now, a Primal Groudon out of Dylan and a couple the second energy now. The Primal Groudon does put a timer on Brandon here.
For sure. Dylan hasn't been getting supporters, but what he has been getting is energy and his Groudons.
That's right.
And that's basically all you really need.
I mean, that's what you want to play your supporters for. Right?
Yeah. That Groudon is going to be safe on the bench now. He can choose when to bring it up and when it's going to be attacked.
That's right. Yeah, without your opponent being able to Lysander up the Groudon or anything like that, you do get to kind of dictate how the game goes and dictate the pace of play. You can keep Robo substituting your way to more energies and more turns to draw out of your supporter drought. Meanwhile, on the other side of the field, we have Brandon, who's finally really started to pick up some board presence. We see a 6th bench Pokemon out of him because of that Skyfield. And now in Ultra Ball, we'll be able to find him an evolution if he chooses, whether it's a Golbat or, for example, well, he chose the Golbat. So now
I think we're going to see some swoop across this turn.
That's good.
I'm feeling it.
We need to see some Supercross here. I want to see some attacking Golbats here.
Oh, we do. So it's going to be 20 to the Wobbuffet and 10 to each of Dylan's bench Pokemon.
Robo substitute on the clock.
Yes.
All right. So now Dylan again has to keep the energy coming, which he does. That's a 3rd energy attachment onto the Primal Groudon. But on top of that, he does want to do something else. So he doesn't just want to leave himself with a single Groudon that's weak to a Leafeon, right?
Yeah. What he's going to really need, if he doesn't draw any supporters, he's going to need to when this Wobbuffet's dead,
Yeah.
he's going to need to Lysander up the 1 Leafeon and knock that out right away.
That's right. Which means that on the other side of the field, Brandon needs to evolve that second Eevee into a Leafeon right away. The fact that he evolved into a Flareon actually is unfortunate for him because he really needs all the Leafeons he can have here, especially because your opponent definitely has that play available to him next turn if he likes.
Yeah, he does only play 3 Leafeon, so he's going to be able to evolve to all of them if he has all of his EVs.
Correct.
But the Flareon's not really going to be able to get to the 1-hit KO for the Groudon. It's still going to do a big chunk of damage, which might be nice.
So I am pretty afraid for the Leafeon here. We'll have to see if Dylan has the necessary tools. He hasn't had any tools. To be fair, he really hasn't had much of anything in this game besides 1 Primal Groudon. And apparently that's the story that continues. Did he attach a 4th energy? I can't even tell. My eyes are off.
There's 4 energy on that.
So now there's 4 energy and I believe a Hard Charm, right?
Yes.
So the Primal Groudon is finally ready to unleash. But on the flip side, if we see another Leafeon here on Brandon's side of the field, it doesn't matter if you have a Primal Groudon or not. It's just not enough. You need to start powering up another one right away.
Yeah, and I've actually played this matchup quite a bit, and one of the things that really screws over the Groudon player is if you just have like a Robo Substitute and then a Primal Groudon, and those are your only Pokemon, they can actually play a Crobat, knock out the Robo Substitute to force you to bring up Groudon.
Exactly. So now the Robo Substitute does become active now, which means it can get knocked out whenever it likes, but at the same time, you just got to Groudon, man. You just got to Groudon. He leaves the Robo Substitute active. He doesn't want to make this, pretty awful trade for himself, and now it's up to Brandon to keep the pressure coming.
Yeah, you see him playing the Silent Lab, getting rid of the Skyfield, which you wouldn't do if you were attacking this turn with Groudon. So we are going to see the Crobat play, knocking out the Substitute Robo. So this Groudon is going to take a lot of damage. I don't know if it's knockout or not. I think it is.
No.
Yeah,
whoa, 200 damage on it. Yeah.
Because there's previous Golbats or Crobats on the Groudon. So game 2 goes to Brandon.
Yeah, I didn't notice the Crobat damage that was dealt to him, but that's right. He had accumulated enough damage that the Leafeon was more than enough to knock him out. I started stuttering just because it took me by surprise, man. I did not expect the game to end that early, and yeah, accumulated damage was more than enough to be able to just really knock out this Groudon. So now we're on to game 3. The winner of this game goes on to the finals to face one of the Sabelhaus brothers. Will it be Brandon? Will it be Dylan? Will it be fake Dylan or will it be Dylan according to you?
But yeah, so it was really unfortunate because I don't think Dylan played a supporter that game.
Yeah, that's a good point. Dylan did not play a single supporter that game, I don't believe. We went from seeing a Karina every turn to seeing nothing every turn.
He might have played a Karina, but I'm not really sure.
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
I actually believe that he did not play a single supporter that game.
Yeah, because he would have Karina for a computer search to
That's right.
get more supporters.
Exactly. So now, what is what's going to be the tail of the tape here? We've seen both sides of the coin. We've seen on one hand Dylan Bryan just dominate with a Landorus EX start, not even use his Groudons, and then on the other hand we saw him just have his Groudon knocked out before he could even attack.
Yeah. He's definitely going to need Landorus, and thankfully he started with it.
Oh, yeah. Landorus started against a Zubat. Always the fair battle there. A Karina out of Dylan here. And I'm going to assume that'll find him a Professor's Letter if he doesn't have any energies. He does not need to switch the Landorus out of that active position. So, good start for Dylan.
Yes, for sure. The Zubat is resistant, so we also see the Mr. Mime from Brandon, which is going to make a huge difference.
That's a Mr. Mime that we didn't see the first game at all.
Yeah.
So Mr. Mime could definitely make a difference here. It does shut down Landorus quite a bit. It makes it so that Landorus becomes a little bit less threatening at least.
The thing that's funny is if Dylan can get Wobbuffet out, Brandon's going to be in draw pass mode.
That's right.
But I don't think he'll go for it at all.
We see a fighting energy get attached to the Groudon EX and then a hard term onto the Landorus to make it a little bit more unkillable, and a pass from Dylan on his first turn.
Yeah, I do think that Dylan realized from game 1 that he wants to save Landorus the most.
Okay.
Groudon is so fragile with Leafeon, and being able to hard charm the Landorus so early, and all the heal cards he plays makes it really beneficial for him. And he's still going to charge up the Groudon because Landorus only takes 1 energy to attack.
That's right. One thing we do see here is a non-Wobbuffet start from Dylan, which means that the Shaman does allow him to draw additional cards with a setup. And now we saw a computer search drawn for Brandon, so Brandon does have an ideal start on his own. I'm assuming he's going to try to find the right mix of supporters in Pokemon.
Well, he can get Eevee and get out of Leafeon right away.
Exactly.
And he Lysandered up the Groudon, so he's going to get 40 damage.
40 damage. An excellent first turn out of Brandon, though.
Yeah, the Mr. Mime is huge.
Yeah, the Mr. Mime is huge. The fact that he gets a turn 1 evolution attacking on turn 1 is huge. And the pressure that you put on your opponent, who just spent an entire turn powering up a Groudon, is quite a bit. I mean, you can't really understate it, and that's a great start out of Brandon. The fact that he has a Versus Seeker in order to, well, what supporter does he have in the discard pile?
Lysander.
Is that his only supporter? It might be. It might actually be his only supporter. So if that's his only supporter, then Brandon might be in a little bit of trouble. But if it's not, and he has a Juniper or an N or something, then he'll be in alright shape. An escape rope, actually, right?
Yeah.
Was that an escape? Yeah, it was an escape rope, and now Brandon was forced to activate a Zubat here, which I guess is a great Pokemon to activate.
Yeah.
You gotta think about it.
It's gonna resist the Landorus, so you're only gonna take 10, and you're gonna be able to free retreat it no matter what. But like, you're not really in a good position if you don't have a support in the discard. It all comes down to that.
And Mr. Mime does make it so that all you're going to be taking is 10 damage. There.
Yeah.
That's good. That's actually really good, the more I think about it. So Brandon in great shape at the beginning of this Game 3. Once again, winner of this Game 3 moves on to the finals.
So we actually just see Dylan Mega or Primal Evolve instead of attack with that 10 damage.
Which is the right play. And actually, he had a Versus Seeker for a Juniper.
He also drew a Juniper.
And he drew a Juniper. So what I thought was going to be a huge top deck ended up just being a mediocre top deck.
Yeah.
Since he did have the Versus Seeker to be able to Juniper away his hand.
So we see the attack from Leafeon that most people don't really know. It's I forget what
Most
it's
people
called.
don't really know, and apparently you don't either.
It's 1 grass, 2 colorless, does 60, flip a coin. If heads, you deal 20 more.
Okay, so 60
30
base
more.
damage. 60 base damage, that's what really matters. It does put a little bit of pressure on the hard-termed landers here. An N from his opponent does draw both players 6 cards.
Because usually you only see this attack against Seismitoad.
That's right.
Just because that's how like the old Flareon deck used to try to beat Seismitoad, is get a quick Leafeon, attach 3 energy, bangle 90. But here it could be pretty good against Groudon, but it's able to get damage on that Landorus that does have a hard charm on it.
That's right. Now the Landorus with the hard charm is still the prime target here for Brandon, specifically because I guess he can't really target the Groudon anyway, right?
Yeah.
So the Groudon is starting to get powered up here. It has 2 energy on it now, which means it's a 2-turn clock in order for it to start attacking. It only took 40 damage, which could end up being pretty important here. Only taking 40 damage does leave you in a decent spot to be able to take a couple of hits.
Well, there's that, but there's also Crobats that will add damage to it also.
That's right. An Eevee here from Brandon is exactly what he wants to see.
Yeah, he definitely needs more attackers in play. The Shaman can draw him 2 cards if he decides not to play his Training Center. Training Center is actually a pretty good card in this matchup, at least against the Landers.
He chose to put 3 damage on, I believe, the... was that the Groudon? Okay.
Yeah.
He chose to put 3 damage on the Groudon with his Crobat.
So we see a Bengal, so that Eevee on the bench is going to be able to do some damage next turn.
A Versus Seeker here for another Juniper does draw him an additional 7 cards, but not the 7 he wanted to see.
He would want to see this if he still had Skyfield in play, but since he played the Training Center to draw more cards, he has Pikachu and Zubat that he would rather have in play.
That was a big decision to make for Brandon. He decided to go with, I don't even know if you can call it the safe route, but he decided to go with the route that drew him an additional card. And it did backfire here since his hand was awesome with the Skyfield in play. Not necessarily as awesome if you have any other stadium in play, I guess you should say.
Training Center.
Yeah.
But he does have another Skyfield in hand, and Dylan even played his own Silent Lab to get rid of the Training Center. So it's going to be a pretty good exchange here for Brandon. He will get the Pokemon out. He just won't get them out as fast as he would like.
You know what I would like to see? A second Leafeon and not a Flareon. A Flareon getting evolved here is just not what you want to see. I don't care how many Pokemon you have in the discard pile. You want a Leafeon when your opponent's building up a beefy Groudon.
There is enough damage on the Groudon to where Flareon might just be the same. But we do see him drawing...
I don't know,
Leafeon
man. That's a
with
whole
colors.
lot of damage you have to deal with a Flareon without having
Well, I believe there's 60 or 70 damage on the Groudon, so it's not impossible for Flareon to do 170 with a Bengal attached.
You are a very, very optimistic person, Jeremy. That's a whole lot of damage you have to deal with a Flareon, and I mean, let's just face it. You would much rather have a Leafeon here, a Leafeon which almost guarantees you a knockout. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's what I would do, but
You're
I'm just
an
trying to
optimist.
justify
I get
it. Yeah,
You're an optimist. I get it. I mean, if we see the discard pile right now, we only see like 3 or 4 Pokemon tops.
yeah. But he does have Ultra Balls and Pokemon in his hand.
Yeah, so I mean, he is at like the 100 damage range.
Yeah,
right about now.
this Leafeon has been putting in work though. It's the one he got turn 1 or turn 2.
Exactly. Yeah, that turn. Well, I believe it's turn 1.
Turn 1, yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's a turn 1 Leafeon that he got. And it's been doing work. A Karina now cannot find a Landorus, and Landorus is honestly a Pokemon that would shine in this matchup, but it's just not the Pokemon to find because he only had one in the deck. Finds another Groudon though, and that's Professor's Letter does draw him a couple more energies, so he can consistently attach energies from here on out.
Yeah, we do see though that even though Dylan started Landorus, which you would prefer other than Wobbuffet to start Landorus,
he didn't
it
really
didn't
take
do
advantage
much
of it,
because of Mr. Mime.
Exactly.
Brandon having Mr. Mime in the third game compared to the first game made this a completely different matchup.
Brandon is in the driver's seat here. He is about to take down a giant in this game in Dylan Bryan, I think. He's definitely at least in a great position, right? He's 3 prizes ahead of Dylan. Dylan isn't anywhere near in a better board position than Brandon. And really the only thing you can count on is the fact that Brandon does not have a second Leafeon in play. That's really the only thing that Dylan has going for him. The fact that he evolved into a Flareon. So now, is it time to start attacking with Landorus? Or I'm sorry, with Groudon? Dylan says no.
I don't know, like, with this, there's a lot of stuff on Brandon's side of the field. And I don't know how many energy he actually runs. I was going to look it up real quick.
I believe it's 7. Or no, that's not true.
Yeah.
Is it 7?
It
might be 7, yeah.
So, if we look at this, there's a double colorless on the Flareon. There is an energy on the Raichu. There's 2 energy on the Leafeon. And I think there's a few energy in the discard.
I don't know. I'm not sure if there's any energy in the discard or not. That's going to be the big question that you have to ask here.
Yeah.
But you do want to make sure that you can attack with one more Leafeon in the game. That's what you absolutely want to make sure.
There is energy on the EV.
Yeah. Okay, so there you go. And he does have Leafeon in hand. So if Dylan's gigantic hand...
2 energy left.
2 energy left. 2 energy left might be enough, though. It might be. We'll have to wait and see.
Without looking at the discard.
Okay, so without looking at the discard, he does have a couple of energy left. If he still has a couple of energy left in the game, or in the deck, that should be enough to maintain enough pressure throughout the game. He only needs 3 more prizes, and that Groudon will get knocked out by a Leafeon.
Yeah, but I'm just worried about, like, Dylan just saying, I'm never going to attack, and just, like, robo-subs and trying to attack Brandon out.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say, is at this point you have to start wondering, how am I going to lose this game if you're Brandon?
Yeah.
If you're Brandon, you're probably not losing this game by damage. You're just not. You have more than enough ways to really put enough pressure on your opponent. You're going to knock out that Groudon on one hit. So now your opponent's going to have to build up another Groudon, which takes 4 turns. I don't think you're losing this game if you're going to be if you're going to get prized here.
Yeah.
Something major has to happen in order for that to happen. So how else do you lose this game? Might get decked. So you just have to make sure that doesn't happen. If that doesn't happen, you're going to be in decent shape.
And you actually see Dylan finally attaching the 4th energy. So it's going to make Energy Crush deal a little bit more. I think maybe he was kind of holding it until he could heal the Groudon so it wouldn't get one hit.
Yeah.
But
at this point, you want that 4th energy so you can Super Potion, though. You know? You want to have it so you have Super Potion options and whatnot and still be able to attack.
I think he did Super Potion, and that's what it was.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm just a little slow here. Did you see any energy, by the way?
Oh, man, I forgot to look.
Pay attention.
Oh,
there we go. No energy.
So
all right, so that's huge.
Left.
2 energy left. Teammates. Oh, wow. That's actually a big card there. Teammates does find him any 2 cards he wants to find, and now he can really sculpt how the end of this game is going to come
Yeah.
out. Does he want more robo substitutes to be able to just kind of again put your opponent in so much pressure? Put your opponent in so much decking pressure at that point. Does he want to start building up another Groudon? The Groudon seems a little dangerous in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't think he can actually bench another Groudon EX just because the Lysander can bring it up right away.
Yeah.
The fact that you can't evolve it in the same turn means that that barrier ability doesn't really get to work.
Exactly. That's why the teammates is going to really tell us exactly how the rest of this game is going to get played out. It would tell us if we knew what the teammates got. What did Brandon just search here or just look at?
He probably could have, Dylan probably could have just got Pokemon Center Lady and like a Versa Seeker
Yeah,
to heal his Groudon.
Yeah. So now, I mean, if I'm Brandon, I'm looking at my deck.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my deck. I'm trying to figure out how many cards I have left, and I'm trying to.
He has 8 cards, I believe, and that's what it says on the side.
Okay, so 8 cards left in his deck. That might be enough. It seems like it's going to be close, but it should be enough, assuming Dylan doesn't have too many more ways to really slow this game down. A Lysander finds him a Mr. Mime. A Lysander from Mr. Mime is actually big because there's no way for Mr. Mime to go to the bench.
Yeah, he's going to need to draw his energy left.
That's actually huge. I didn't think of this, but the Lysander from Mr. Mime. Okay, so this is what I was trying to tell you to begin with. Dylan had to find a way for him to win this game, right? Dylan's like, okay, I'm probably losing this game. I can't attack. I can't do anything. My opponent has like 11 cards left in his deck at this point when Dylan starts figuring this out. So how do I win this game? All right, well, I guess Robo Substitute time, right?
Yeah.
Then he goes with the teammates, looks through his deck, tries to figure out how the rest of this game is going to play out, and now decides, all right, I guess I have to Lysander and Mr. Mime. This is really the only thing I can do. And there is no energy in Brandon's side of the field. This is actually huge. Brandon needs to draw in energy in the next 2 turns in order to have enough turns to knock this guy to lock this game up.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if they were both prized?
It would be for everybody but Brandon.
Yeah.
Oh man, he draws another card and it is not an energy. Oh man, a Crobat can be activated to knock out a Robo Substitute, but that's it. Jeez. Okay, I mean, do you Ultra Ball here in order to max? I mean, I don't even think so. I don't think that's the right play at all. Do you have any ends left? Do you have any Versa Seekers left?
He has an N left.
So yeah, he does. Oh no, he end.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like that play at all, man.
Well, it saves him some more cards.
No, I don't think so. I think you wait. You hold down to that end until you have a few cards left in your deck.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You want to keep drawing. You want to maximize your opportunities.
Maybe he really wanted to hit the energy that turn, so he wanted to play a supporter that wouldn't deck him out, but still give him a chance to hit energy.
I don't know. This is a close game. This has gone from a landslide of a game to a very close game.
I think
he needs an energy. That's what he needs to do. Dylan needs to stay alive.
I think Dylan attacked twice this game.
I'm surprised you counted. I'm surprised you kept track.
Because there's 60 damage on a Leafeon.
All right, so now what does he do? He has a Flareon, a Juniper, and an Ultra Ball. He can't Flareon. The math won't work out, right? Like, I mean, he has 9 cards left in his deck?
Yeah.
9 cards left in his deck. That leaves him with 2 at the end. No, you can't Flareon. Or, I mean, I'm sorry, you can't Juniper. So what do? I mean, you just need to find some way to get your Mr. Mime into the bench. I'm starting to wonder if he actually has a couple of energy prized.
I know.
Okay. Keep searching his opponent's discard pile and his own. He's counting how many energy he might have left. That's if we're right.
Yeah,
and he does have 2 energy left. We might be wrong here. There might actually be less than 2.
I know he plays 7, and there's 3 on the Leafeon. There's a double colorless on the Flareon. There is 1 on the other Leafeon, and then 1 on the Raichu. So that's 6.
So 1 left.
Yeah.
Still none. Is the last energy prized? If it's prized, he just loses.
Yeah.
Assuming that Dylan actually has enough. Dylan has 7 cards left in his deck compared to his own 7.
Oh, man.
An N actually is much better for Brandon than it is for Dylan, by the way. Because Brandon only draws 3 and Dylan draws 6.
Yeah.
However, Dylan also
has
has more cards in his hand.
So many cards in his hand.
This is getting crazy. This is actually turning into like a way hard matchup.
Yeah.
The one matchup we wanted to avoid coming into the Pokemon Elite Championship Series is kind of happening before our very eyes. This is just draw pass versus draw pass. You know, the epic battle.
Oh my gosh.
He draws a card. It's not an energy. He is down to 5 cards left in his deck against his opponent's 5 as well.
Oh my god.
Your turn, not an energy. Down to 4. Ends his turn. Dylan ends his turn.
Oh my gosh.
Another non-energy card drawn. 3 cards left in his own deck against his opponent's 4. He is going to lose this game if the energy is not. I mean, first of all, now he has to draw it right away.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even... Like, if it's the last card in your deck, you still lose the game. This is why I really didn't want to see that end early on.
Yeah.
Oh, man, this is huge. This is actually... This is epic. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen here. He's got to end his turn. What's he going to do? Lysander? Obviously not. The Versus Seeker does give him another end, though.
It does.
Okay, so he did draw a Versus Seeker, which gives him another end. Now, Dylan draws. I'm assuming he's just going to pass. There's nothing else he wants to do here. He knows it's his only way of winning this game. He's not going to take any prizes. I mean, Dylan's even thinking about it. Now, at this point, Dylan has to start doing math when it comes to ends and Versus Seekers and whatnot. I think your best protection is just not playing any cards. Not an energy. Down to 2. Down to 2 cards in his deck.
Oh my god.
Not an energy. I've said this 100 times now.
So the thing is, if the energy is prized, even the end won't save him. So I think he's Ultra Balling to see what's left. The energy is left.
But why would you Ultra Ball there? You don't want to Ultra Ball there. You don't want to find out if you want to scoop or not. And now he end himself. He does draw the energy, which is actually huge. Yeah. Now you just hope your opponent doesn't have another Lysander. If your opponent has another Lysander, you just lose. But if he doesn't, then the energy might be enough to be able to save you here.
But I'd bring up the Flareon and kill the Robo.
Exactly. You want to bring up a Flareon here. You want to
preserve the Leafeon.
Exactly. That's a great point, and that's entirely true. However, you're down to 5 cards in your deck. Your opponent still has 10, so you're obviously losing this game if your opponent has a Lysander.
Yeah. Oh,
so that's another reason why... Oh, man, I don't know.
Oh, he brought up the Raichu, which is even better. It's for your treat.
So now, if his opponent has a Lysander, he's out of energy in his deck.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Lysander and you lose the game.
I can't believe it took him that long to draw that one energy.
Yeah, that's true. We got to the point where I just assumed that the energy was prized. I had to. And he was just incredibly unlucky not to draw it for who knows how many turns. Dylan needs a Lysander here. Is there any other play for Dylan?
I don't think so. I mean, you could bench Gumi and retreat.
Okay, that's an out.
Probably not, just because he'll knock it out. He needs the Lysander. Like, it gives him another turn to Lysander.
Wow, this is crazy.
This is game 3 between 2 Day 2 world competitors.
That's right. 2 Day 2 Worlds competitors going at it.
The
Lysander. The slow-rolled Lysander.
So much.
The slow-rolled Lysander does bring up the Mr. Mime, and that's got to be it, man.
Oh, it's for sure done. We looked at all of the cards Brandon has left, and he had a Muscle Band and like a Juniper, and some of their useless cards.
I mean, now at this point, it's all over but the crying, right? Brandon has to know what's going on, has to know that he can only draw a pass for, 4 more turns? If that, no. He has no cards left in his deck.
Yeah.
It's it. He types the GG. I could be Korean for a second and just say GG, but this is it. It's over.
Oh, man.
The match is over. Dylan Bryan advances to the finals and faces one of the Sabelhaus brothers. And the first leg of this 5-week tournament series, Dylan is now guaranteed at least 20 points.
Yes.
Now we know that the 4 players that were eliminated in the first round did not earn any points.
Yeah.
Brandon earned 10.
Leaving with 10.
Yeah, Brandon earned 10.
The Sablehouses have guaranteed 10. The winner will have 20.
Exactly. And
then
Dylan is playing for a chance at 35 points.
Yes.
That's a huge edge.
Yeah, so much.
Okay, wow, that was an exciting matchup. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. I know Jeremy did.
Yeah.
I'm a little drained of energy right now, so let's... we're going to take a quick break, and before you guys know, we'll be back with the finals between Dylan Bryan and one of the Sabelhaus brothers to see who wins the first week in this Pokemon Elite Championship Series.